I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy, but I've been spending most of my free time the last few months in deep Hollow Pines Forest, and something is very wrong there. I'm a hunter and guide, born and raised in South Oregon, and I know these woods better than most people. But lately, the forest feels like it's alive in a way I never expected, like it's breathing. It started one night in late January. I was out tracking a lost dog near Redwood Creek, a little off the main trail. The air was thick with snow and the usual sounds of the forest. The soft crackle of branches, the distant call of an owl were mostly gone, swallowed by the cold stillness. As I was walking, I suddenly stopped. The ground beneath me felt like it was moving. I wish I was exaggerating, but it was like the earth itself was inhaling and exhaling beneath my boots. A deep, low groan came up through the roots and rocks. It was slow and deliberate, almost like a sigh. I crouched down and pressed my ear up against the soil. The sound was faint but unmistakable, a steady pulsing. I spent a few hours sitting there, trying to convince myself that it was just nothing. Maybe the wind or shifting ice under the frozen ground, or I don't know, maybe just me hallucinating. But I've spent enough nights in the forest to know when something is out of place. After that night, I kept hearing it, always after dark, always in roughly the same area, near the old lava tubes and caves that the park maps barely mark. The groaning was always there, like the forest was slowly expanding and contracting, as if it had lungs buried beneath the soil. I even tried recording it on my phone, but the mic did not pick up much. You had to be there to feel it. It genuinely felt like the entire forest was breathing, alive under the snow and trees. I didn't know what to think. I'm no scientist, but I started digging into old geological surveys and park ranger notes. Hollow Pines sits atop a network of ancient lava tubes and partially collapsed cave chambers, remnants of volcanic activity thousands of years ago. Some of these caves are huge, but most have caved in partially, leaving large pockets of unstable ground. The park rangers say there's been some minor subsidence, meaning parts of the forest floor have shifted slightly over the years. But there has never been a full explanation for the strange noises or the sudden disappearances that have been happening. Yes, disappearances. 2 hunters went missing in the same area in the past month. Both experienced woodsmen, local guys who knew the forest like the back of their hands, probably better than me. Search parties found their gear dumped near the edge of the caves, but no sign of the men themselves. No footprints, no signs of a struggle, just gone. Locals have started whispering about the breathing forest, like it's some kind of ghost story, but the fear is real. Some hunters will not go near that place anymore. I almost stopped going too, but my curiosity, and maybe a little stubbornness, got the better of me. Last week, I camped near Redwood Creek with a recorder and a flashlight, hoping to catch the sound again. Around midnight, I heard it again. A slow, low rumble that vibrated through the trees and underneath my feet. Again, it was like the whole forest was inhaling deeply, then slowly exhaling. The strangest part came the next morning. I woke up early and wandered near the base of some of the oldest Douglas firs in that area. These trees have roots that burrow deep into the earth, tangled around rocks and soil for hundreds of years. But that morning, the ground around them was cracked, as if it had been stretched and pulled. I knelt down and touched the roots, and I swear they twitched when I touched them. Not like the tremble of leaves in the wind, but a slow, deliberate flexing beneath the soil, almost like the tree was moving underground. It's hard to explain, but it was alive in a way I had never seen before. I did not want to believe what I was seeing. Maybe it was frost heave or something normal that I just didn't understand, but I have been back every day since, watching the roots in the ground carefully. Sometimes, at night, when the forest is quiet, except for that breathing sound, I swear I can hear something moving underneath the earth, like something shifting just out of sight, deep beneath the roots and stones. I am writing this here now because I don't know where else to turn. I'm not looking for fame or to scare people. I just want to understand what's happening to the forest I've spent my entire life in. I want to know if I'm losing my mind, or if something beneath those ancient trees is waking up. Tomorrow, I'm heading back out with better gear. I'm taking a digital recorder, infrared camera, and more supplies with me. I'm going to try to follow the sound deeper into the forest, closer to where the caves are. If you've heard anything like this or know what might be causing it, please let me know, because I'm starting to feel like the forest is watching me now, and whatever is down there, breathing under the earth, might not want to be found. I went back the next evening, just as the sun was setting behind the tall pines. I parked near the trailhead and double-checked my gear, the digital recorder, an infrared camera, a flashlight with fresh batteries, and a handheld GPS, just like I mentioned. Wanted to make sure it was all working perfectly and that I would not be caught with my pants down when trying to record this thing. I told my sister where I was going and asked her to check in if she did not hear from me by morning. I wasn't planning on going off trail, but part of me knew that I might have to. The air was crisp, the kind of cold that sinks into your bones. I followed the main path toward Redwood Creek, the snow crunching underneath my boots. As I approached the old lava tubes, the breathing started again. This time, it was louder, like the whole earth beneath me was slowly pulsing now. I stopped and turned on the recorder. The microphone picked up a low rumble, something that felt almost alive. The sound was not constant. It would swell and then die back down. It was so unnatural I felt dizzy just standing there. I switched on the infrared camera and started scanning the trees and forest floor. The heat signatures were normal at first, mostly cold tree trunks and patches of snow. But when I aimed it toward the largest Douglas fir, I caught something moving near the base. The roots, they twitched again, this time clearly visible in the infrared glow. I knelt down, shining my flashlight close to the roots. There was no wind and no animals around, but the earth was subtly shifting, tiny cracks forming and closing like the ground itself was flexing underneath the pressure. I caught myself whispering to the trees, asking them what was wrong. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm a bit of a weirdo, but I like to whisper talk to myself as kind of a nervous tick. It kind of helps keep my anxiety lower, kind of just like thinking out loud. Then I heard something else, a faint scratching coming from the cave entrance, just beyond the roots. I froze. The scratching was not like an animal. It was like claws tapping against stone. My heart hammered as I edged closer, shining the light inside the mouth of the cave. It was pitch black, the kind of darkness that swallows your flashlight beam whole. I held the beam steady, looking for any sign of movement, but saw nothing. I was about to turn back when a cold gust blew out of the cave, carrying with it a smell I can only describe as ancient, like wet earth, decayed wood, and something metallic. That's when I heard a voice. It was so faint I thought maybe I was imagining it. A whisper, just hit the edge of hearing. Leave, is all that it said. That's what it sounded like to me at the time anyway. I spun around, shining my light through the trees. Nothing. My skin prickled. The forest had never felt hostile before, but now it felt like it was warning me, like it did not want me to be there. I packed up quickly and headed back, but I kept looking over my shoulder. The breathing followed me all the way to the trailhead, a low rumble beneath the snow. When I got home, I played back the recording. There was rumble, definitely, but then I noticed something else. Faint, irregular tapping beneath the sound. It almost sounded like footsteps or maybe scratching echoing in the background. I have not been able to shake the feeling that I disturbed something that has been sleeping underground for centuries. The roots twitch more every day, the breathing is louder, deeper, more urgent, and the disappearances keep happening. Just yesterday, a local paper reported a missing hunter found miles away from the forest, confused and covered in mud. He had no memory of how he got there, and described whispers in the trees and the earth moving beneath his feet. I have been too scared to go back since and properly investigate. I am scared of going alone and getting turned around and lost, just like that hunter. Or even worse, I'm scared that I will go missing permanently. It is not worth the risk, and I don't know anyone crazy enough to go with me. I was 19 at the time this took place. I was a Marine, and I was on my first deployment to Afghanistan. Not too far from my platoon's patrol base was this structure that looked like a castle. Through interpreted conversations with locals, we were able to determine that they believed it was built by Alexander the Great. Whether this was true or not I will never know, but this place did look ancient. So, being Marines, we did the only thing that we thought was prudent at the time. We went out on patrol with the intent of setting up an observation post inside the structure. We took our Afghan border police with us. When we got close to the structure and our Afghans figured out what we were up to, they refused to go any further. Before they left, they kept repeating the same word over and over. I don't remember what the word was in their language, as this was a decade ago and there is no way I can remember that, but what I do know is that they were trying to warn us of evil spirits. We went in anyways without our Afghans, with the intent of staying there overnight. This place was basically an ancient fort with mud or clay brick walls on 4 sides, with a building in the middle. So, we set security, made sure we had comm checks with our patrol base, and that they had an updated position report on us, so they knew where we were in case we got into trouble. Darkness fell, and not long after that, I went up to take my turn on the wall with my friend. Our job was to watch for anyone that might be trying to sneak up on us, or any other Taliban-related shenanigans. Not 20 minutes into our shift was when weird stuff started going down. The entire time there on the wall, I felt like I was being watched from all sides. I turned to see a figure walking along the wall, not too far away from where we were sitting. I say walking, but it was a robed figure that looked to be almost floating. I turned to my friend to see if he too saw what I did, and he was getting his night vision back on, which was turned off as it was his turn to rest. When he looked, the figure was gone. We did not see anything else after that for the rest of our shift. We uneasily finished and went to rest, where I ended up dozing off at some point. I don't know what happened next, but I awoke to a completely black figure literally squatting on my chest. When I went to yell for help, nothing came out, and it was like I had a hand over my mouth. I reached for my knife since I was a machine gunner, and I couldn't just grab my machine gun. I felt like something was pinning my arm to the ground. I tried to squirm free and could not move, so I bit down as hard as I could on what felt like a hand in my mouth. At this point, whatever weight was on me instantly disappeared, and I could move and talk again. By that point I was freaking out, and my brothers who were around me saw me. My training had kicked in, and I was trying my best to keep quiet and not pass out because I was hyperventilating. My squad mates calmed me down, and after telling them what happened, they all admitted to having the creeps. They also admitted to the feeling of being watched the entire time we were here. None of us could sleep, and we all basically sat back to back for the rest of the night when we were not on watch. As soon as the sun came up, we left. Everyone was scared, and none of us spoke about it again to each other. Found out that many of our patrols that night also had strange, unimaginable encounters happen to them. We never went back to that area again, and did not make it a permanent observation post for obvious reasons. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I was 18 years old and working in a place known for its theater, and the company took me in as a newbie for my school's internship program. Place was known for general ghost type stuff, along the lines of lights turning on and off, and random faucets being turned on, where the toilets would all flush at the same time type of stuff. Worst was the elevators though. It had 2 employee elevators, one a normal one, and another is a freight one. Both would get stuck in between floors, or would stop 2 floors above or below the intended destination. No, they weren't old. They were recently replaced, just before I got there. Got stuck on my shift once, and I just thumbs up the camera guy, cause they watchdog in case people get stuck, and they send the on-site elevator repairman to try and fix it. I just took off my cook's coat and apron and took a nap. Woke up to the doors finally opening 4 hours later. Anyway, enough general details. The most that happened to me personally was when I as the newbie was the only guy left at 10 PM to clean up and close shop. Cleaning all of the stainless and scraping down the flat top like a good boy. Suddenly, all of the lights go off, and all I got to see by are the dining area's lights and the walk-in's lights. Hear a door swish open around the employee's entrance. Suddenly hear all of the pots on the hanger fall off in front on the line. Immediately run around the prep line wall and see all of the pots are fine, except for 3 saucepans that are on the ground. Saucepans are absolutely fucked because of this. Put a sticky note with an apology after turning lights back on and lock the doors. Go back in the next day, and the chef is huffy at me, cause all the big pots and pans are fucked. Some just badly dented and some cracked. An entire day of making do with small pots and 5-inch pans while prepping for a wedding banquet. Big dents are bad, cause when you make a gallon of something like soup, it tends to get hotter in that spot, and by the end, you have a distinct burnt taste. Explain to chef what happens, and he suddenly has this face, like he was an angry balloon that deflated. Just says, "Oh, okay then." Next one was the scariest, cause it was the first time I was inescapably trapped in my life, and I admit to panicking like a bitch. Carrying some pigs in a blanket and taking the elevator to the 10th floor. Elevator starts up normal, which means it will act normal. Suddenly shoots up insanely quickly, and almost makes me drop my flaming heart 3x4 sheet of piggies. Sudden stop at what must have been the 10th floor. Freaked a bit, but this is actually normal, except for the whole it started normal and everything, which has always meant it was gonna be a normal ride. Turn to tap the camera and get the camera guy's attention. There is a fucking person there in the corner. There is no way she was in this 7x6 box when I walked in. Lights go out. This whole seeing her and the lights going out took a split second. Suddenly, the elevator drops like 3 feet before catching. Emergency lights turn on so I can see again. No lady now. Set my miraculously saved piggies minus 5 brave souls. Tap the camera as per protocol and then pull the emergency phone out. No tone, no connection, nothing. Usually, that phone has a split-second dial tone where it rings the cam guy's station, who seems to have a hand over the phone 24/7. Leave the phone off hook for a bit so the ring will continue, and hopefully alert someone that something is terribly wrong. Decide to open the door and see where I am, and maybe open the floor that I am probably 3 feet above or below to call for help. Door slides open, and I am met with a big 2 on solid concrete, and no metal frame for either floor is visible. That is definitely not right. I started on floor 2, and this thing shot up for at least 3 more floors before dropping 3 feet. I should at least be near 5, not directly below my starting floor. Panic after realizing that this is more wrong than wrong should be in this situation, like Twilight Zone wrong. I start banging on the walls and ceiling, hoping someone would hear me. This went on for about a minute, and then I hear a bang overhead. Think to myself, oh thank you almighty elevator gods for this help. Wait, I haven't been in here anywhere near long enough for them to actually send someone down to check on me, rather than getting Terry to try and fix the elevator, which usually takes an hour. Suddenly, it's not a bang bang, but a bang 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 for about a minute. If someone hit the top of that roof that hard, they would have broken hands. I am cowering in the corner, thinking that's gotta be some fucking monster clawing its way in or some shit in this 3-minute hell ride. But my mind was saying it was most likely some key components from the top finally falling on top of the elevator before I fall to my death into the sub-basement. Thanks, brain. Suddenly it stops, all quiet. No creaks of doom or monster bangs, nothing. I am tensing up, waiting for the fall. An hour goes by like that, just cowering in a ball waiting for death because obviously something fucked up, and I am dangling in a single cable while the firefighters use the claw of life to vainly reach me. I decide around what was hour 2 to try the phone again. Still no tone. Decide fuck it, I am not dying hungry. Set up camp with my jacket over the slightly warm spot where the dog sat and just sit there munching. Finally reach my whole acceptance stage and sit quietly. Around hour 3, the E-lights die, and I sit in the darkness with my thoughts. Hour 5 rolls around, and it is steaming hot inside, so I strip down to my undies and make a bed out of my uniform. Can't sleep, and it is so quiet I can hear blood in my ears. Listen to that for what must have been hours, but felt like days, all alone in the dark. Suddenly voices. I hear giggling and whispers from below. Oh God, it's coming for me. It's waited till I was just tired enough to be weak. Oh God. Suddenly, scratches on the bottom that moves to the door slowly. Oh God, oh Jesus, this is it. Fuck you, monster. I am not dying without a fight. Hear the door close, and then I hear it open. I jump into the blinding light and attack my chef, who just jacked the door open. A child went in and came out a half-feral, sweaty, almost naked fat guy. The paramedics basically tackle me and calm me down. I was inside that elevator for about 12 hours, but everybody said they saw me occasionally and even gave me some orders up until 3 hours before they cracked in through the door. They said the elevator was stuck since around 11 a.m. I popped out on the 10th floor at around 11 p.m., even though I was stuck below the 2nd floor. They basically made sure I was okay before the chef sat me down and explained I signed a form, and that I technically was not an employee, so a lawsuit would not go in my favor before asking me if I was okay. Now, I call this basic haunting because I found out that this has happened to every staff member at some point in time at least once, but mine was the longest. The cameraman said the camera showed an empty elevator and the phone never rang. Used to work as a building supervisor for a 60-year-old community center. It was originally a small school when it was made, but somewhere along the line they decided to turn it into what it is today. I usually worked from sunup to about midnight. Usually spooky shit only happened when it was after 10. I also worked alone. On my 17th hour of work for the shift, doing general cleaning upstairs, hear a mother and her young daughter bouncing basketballs downstairs. Asked myself how the hell they got in because I had locked the doors after the last of the guests had left. Walk down and check the gym. No one there. Walk back up and start cleaning again. Suddenly start hearing them again. Say fuck it and leave a little bit early. Another night, in November sometime. Had a big party the night before. When I was done cleaning, there was only 4 more hours until my next shift began. Decided to just sleep in my office. Get woken up by someone knocking on the glass door. Get up and answer it. No one there. Hear more knocking. Someone is knocking on the door next to my office. There was a rental room right next to my office. Check it out. All the tables and shit I had put up the night before were put away, and the tablecloths were neatly folded on the counter. Turned on all the lights and sat in my office, with my back against the wall. Quitting time near when I put in my 2 weeks there. Sitting in my office doing the day's paperwork. See a man in a hat walking around near the bathroom at the end of the hall in the shadows. Ask him if he knows we were closed. Fire alarms immediately went off, and the local police and fire came within minutes. Posted this one before an X, but it involves both my brother and my mother. Happened over 10 years ago now. Brother is 16 years old at the time, works at movie store. Mother works at a mental health center in the pharmacy, but is a registered nurse, and takes night shifts in the different psych wards for overtime. The nut house has a policy where, if you are well behaved, take your meds, and seem stable, you can get day passes to go do things in the town. One guy who is well liked among the staff does such a thing. He decides to rent a movie. My brother happens to be working the first day he goes. My brother talks to this guy, and they have a long conversation about different movies. This continues for months. My brother finds out where the guy was from during the course of this. Asks my mom about it. She says it's very common for them to leave on day passes. Town is apparently full of crazies on day passes. So, basically, this guy had been leaving the place every day for a couple of months. He was considered fairly healthy at this point and completely stable, and my brother and this guy were almost what you call friends. But here is where it gets fucked up. My brother eventually notices that the dude has not been around in a few weeks. Asks my mom if he got moved somewhere else or something. She checks it out. Finds out that the dude had been in there for either attempted murder or murder, can't remember which. He took a day pass and left with another dude who got out on a day pass. We will call my brother's friend 1 and the other dude 2. They went to 1's parents' house and murdered them. Then 1 murdered 2. At some point, either before murdering 2 or after, 1 ate at least some parts of his parents. Then 1 turned himself in and said something about how he warned them that he was not healthy. We all just assume my brother had not been working on the day that they actually left. Don't know if they even thought of him when they left town that day. Corrections officer here. The prison I worked at used to be a reformatory school for wayward boys back in the early 20th century. I have one too spoopy story that I still cannot explain. Get stuck working first tour, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, in the oldest part of the prison, built in 1901. Roughly 2:30 a.m., trying not to nod the fuck out in the office. Bunch of inmates start screaming at the end of the block. The fuck? Go down and ask what the fuck they are doing. See, oh, there's somebody out there. Huh? Inmates in cell next to him tell me there's a motherfucker out there with no face. Tell them to calm the fuck down and tell me what is going on. They claim that they heard someone whispering to himself. When they looked up from their beds, they saw someone walking out in front of the cells in a long coat, and when he turned around and looked at them, he had no face. Two things spring to mind. Either one, they're trying to fuck with me, but they do seem kind of worried, or two, an inmate is walking around outside his cell. Get flashlight, do another count. All inmates accounted for. Get on telephone and call the second officer to see if he was on the block. Nope, he's still in the break room. At this point, I am tired from working a double and pissed that these inmates are playing games with me, about to go and scream at them. As I am exiting the office, notice movement on one of the upper tiers. Point my flashlight up near the staircase and definitely see the tail end of somebody moving out of my light on the upper tier. Pull my baton out of my holster and book it to the staircase, yelling at them to stop. Get to the top with my baton out, hand ready to drop the flashlight and hit the alarm button on my radio if I get jumped. Walk up and down the upper tier block, looking for this fucking inmate/person. Now the way this block is laid out is that on each of the 4 tiers, there is a locked gate that leads to a catwalk in the middle, so you can observe each cell through a small peep window in the back of the cell. Check gate, still locked. Shine light down catwalk, nothing. Start making my way upstairs to check the uppermost tier, when my office door slams shut. Book it back down to the office. Check everywhere in there including both bathrooms and refrigerator. Fucking nothing. Decide I've had enough of this shit. Call my second officer back down to the block, and we start scouring every inch of that block, looking for this fucking person, before I report this to the sergeant. Do a count of every inmate on every tier. Thoroughly check everywhere except the catwalks, since you can shine a light down it and illuminate the entire thing. This fact is important. Everything seems to check out. At this point we go back to the office, and are on edge. We have no idea if there is an inmate out there, trying to plot an escape, or if someone actually broke into the fucking prison or what. Thankfully, the rest of the night goes uneventfully. However, fast forward to 6 AM, wake up call. Do my go around, taking attendance for morning chow. Inmates on the second tier asked me why the fuck I was walking the catwalk at 5 in the morning. What? Inmates swear they saw somebody walk by the peep ports in their cells, where the catwalk should be, and could hear the person talking to themselves. They assumed it was me. That is pretty much the end of it. The inmates who originally saw the person now claim their block is haunted and scare the shit out of the other inmates with it. Thank fuck I have not had to work in that block since then. I have no explanation as to what happened that night, be it some ghost or my own sleep-deprived mind toying with me. I saw a staircase in the Everglades, in a bunch of Melaleuca thicket on something like an island in the sawgrass. Definitely had been there for a while. No way for it to have gotten in through the dense growth, but really strange. It looked maintained. Some leaf litter on the stairs, but not like the algae swamp muck moss and branches that you would expect. And there was actually some kind of rubber grip coating on the steps like rhino liner, and what looked to be stainless steel cables, 3 per side, going up, but open up top at the end. Also very weird. It went up probably 20 feet at least, and closed underneath with some kind of fiberglass or plastic that genuinely made me wonder how it could possibly be very old, and whether there was a room or space underneath that could be accessed somehow. I did not see one, but why go to the trouble of enclosing underneath, and why was it even there, and how was it perfectly upright, no tilt or lean, in a fairly soft, sometimes swampy area? It looked massively out of place. I ended up deciding it must be something related to an old sugarcane operation, because I have on rare occasions seen old stone ovens and once found a big kettle in the glades 20 miles in from anything resembling a road, but even that makes no sense. In the glades, stuff can disappear quickly. Buildings, old cars, you name it, so there could have once been better access in. I had hiked 3 days to get there, but that's just it. This thing showed no sign of disappearing, and I still have no idea of any imaginable purpose. It looked like something you would use to send a lot of people up an incline to a second-story deck for a cruise ship, but nothing about that adds up. When it floods there, it is never high enough that you could get in with anything much bigger than just a john boat. It was clearly too young to be related to some old steamboat or even World War II project, and it seemed permanently installed. This was about 1992. Wonder if it is still there, and what it was for.